Hello, everybody. Give me a second. I was running late. I apologize. It is totally my fault. I took a nap, and I shouldn't have, and it cost me dearly. It usually does. You can ask my moderator, Carol. She will tell you that it's all my fault. And it's weird because, well, it's just weird. Hello, Marie. I need to come up with... Yeah, I don't know who I'm talking to other than you at the moment. Not gonna make that mistake twice. Yeah, I know. Well, then it was supposed to be 7:15 my time, and it instantly took me in the chat. So I'm not exactly happy about that. It does that every once in a while, but it is what it is. Hey, Carol. Mm-hmm. Give me a second, guys. Okay, y'all. So you guys have all heard this. I feel bad. Do we really want to rehash whaling the same thing over again, or do we want to do something else? I don't know. Let's just, I guess let's talk about it, or maybe a little bit about it. We can hop, jump, and skip around it if we need to, or we can do something totally different. And then if somebody else comes in that hasn't heard it, I can do that too. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying right now. I'm a little bit still in nappy nap land. No, let's just do it. So we already talked about the whaling part of it. Hey, Marie. No, come on. That's okay. I was hoping to be able to read to you You missed us talking about whales and whalers. And I really thought that would be different and unique. No, it's not. I really, really wanted to read to you some journals. Oh, there were also, by the way, women on these boats. Okay, so we're just, you know what? I can't find what I was looking for. So we're just, I don't know. I don't want to know. Well, there were all different types of boats that were out and about. That one, obviously. No, 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 no. So anyway, there's a few basic whale products They are sperm oil, spermaceti, whale oil, baleen, and ambergris. And this was a process. It could take several hours to a few days to it's oil made from the sky. So it's they would take their blubber, their fat, and they would render it. And they would do these in big iron pots called tripots. A lot of the lights that they had were powered by sperm oil or other whale oils. So they would take turns. They would climb up the mast. They would turn it from a solid into a liquid. They would melt it down. So they would have a guy up in the crow's nest, 100 feet up, and he would be up there looking for the whale. And what he would be looking for would be looking for the mist that comes up when a whale breathes through their blowhole. And that would signal a whale being out there. Once a whale was sighted, they would send out the boats. Now, these were not, in the old days, these would have been rowboats. And so you would have 6 guys plus the guy that throw the harpoon. So he would row out to where they could get to the whale and then throw the harpoon. Whales actually can hear, and so they would go pretty slow. Sometimes what would happen is the whale would get harpooned, and because the line was attached to the ship, it would tow the ship. And that was called a Nantucket sleigh ride. They would then, once he was tired, he would be at the surface. Keep in mind that at the surface, they could go up to 20 miles an hour. So when they got him tired, they would lance it. They would have possibly a 4-year voyage. They would have somewhere between 150 to 200 harpoons. And we talked about this yesterday, or this morning. That is what the harpoons look like. They were a wooden shaft with metal at the top. And that was meant to drive, I don't know who it is. It's a guy holding it's a statue of Lewis Temple. And that is what the harpoon looked like. And it was designed so that that end piece would flip once it entered the whale. Makes it really hard for it to get out. So this Chogai, if I knew, have you ever seen The Wizard of Oz? Have you never seen The Wizard of Oz? It's because I'm a small guy. I'm only 5 foot. My vocal cords, because I'm small, make my voice a little bit higher than other people. That's why. Now, can I please finish my stuff? Now, can I please get back to my topic? Man. So, they would put the whale blubber into big pots, and there would be a fire underneath it, and they would get it really, really hot. And that is what's going on here. They are melting that blubber. Sometimes they would have issues. Either they wouldn't get close enough to finish the job, or the harpoon would shake loose, or sometimes, because of the whales, the ship that they were in would overturn. They would divide up the crew into 2 shifts, and each shift was a 6-hour shift. And you would stay until pretty much the job was done. And you had to work fast because the whale was in the water. They would fasten it with heavy chains, and then they would go to work because they had to be fast. Because of these guys. That would be Moby Dick. This is called the tryout, and this was done in the early days on land. And then eventually it would be done elsewhere, on actually not elsewhere, but on the boats. Hold on, guys. I got a phone call coming in I gotta take. I'm back. Now, the blubber could weigh as much as a ton. So, yeah. And they would work at cutting up the whale. I think I already read all of this. This is back in the day. They literally would have buckets, or not buckets, but barrels of whale oil lined up. I can't talk. Okay. So we talked about the spermaceti. Spermaceti is a higher grade of oil. This was a really good oil. It did not, they could use it at high temperatures. Yeah, and they could use the spermaceti to make candle wax. And they did. They had the baleen. We talked about that earlier. The baleen, ladies, if you've ever heard of whalebone, that comes from, that's the baleen. It was used in corsets. It was used in collars, hooped dresses, stuff like that. Ambergris came from the intestine of the whale. This was used in perfumes to keep the scent from changing. Okay, Captain E.T. And it was added to wine as an aphrodisiac. Lovely. Keep in mind that even at that point, that there's still danger. They are not out of danger yet, even though they're on the ship and they're rendering that blubber. Things could happen. Like the deck would be wet with the blubber or an oil, and if you stepped wrong, you could slip overboard. And if that happened, guaranteed there's sharks in the water. You can imagine what might have happened. People were actually crushed by the weight of the blubber. They were wounded by the tools. Sometimes if a wave rocked the ship the wrong way, they might get splashed with that boiling oil. And they do have pictures of people. One of the boats got damaged, I'm assuming by a whale, and they're actually out there rescuing. It looks like maybe one guy maybe didn't make it. I don't know. It was very dangerous. And sometimes they didn't just use another thing that sometimes happened is if you were up in the Arctic, you could get stranded, and that happened where 275 whalemen were up in the Arctic, or maybe the Antarctic, and they didn't have enough supplies, and the sea ice locked them in. That was in 1897. They had the temperature had actually sank to 45 degrees below zero. And these guys were not in a good way. So yeah, there are dangers involved in that, which to me, it's bad. Maybe it was nature taking its revenge. I don't know. That's the way my brain works. I'm probably not the person that you want to feel sorry for you under those circumstances. This was a very difficult job. The whales, some of the whales are still in the process of making a comeback. Unfortunately, your bigger whales, the bigger whales, no. And that's a good point. They were also, in some cases, hunting pilot whales. There is a museum or a national park in Massachusetts called yeah, I feel the same way. It is the New Bedford Whaling National Historical Park. Not the easiest name to say in one breath. Now, the whaling industry in the United States had a high point of between 1846 and 1852. And into the 20th century, we were still hunting whales. However, whale oil was being replaced with petroleum. And so that made things a little bit less that oil from the whales gave way to something just as bad, petroleum. And you're thinking, what do you mean just as bad? Well, yeah, just as bad. These whale oil lamps were very popular during this time. And they also hunted not just whales, but they were also hunting things like walruses too. That's true, they were, but keep in mind that Japan, Norway, and Iceland still were hunting whales. They did not stop. Also, keep in mind that we were also, in some places, hunting dolphin. If you were a whaler, you may have even eaten dolphin. Um, there are paintings of it. About by this time, after the Second World War, we were still hunting whales, and by this time, 1.4 million whales had been killed in Antarctica alone. Japan and the Soviet Union were whaling, and we're now sort of focused in the Pacific. Absolutely, they were. By the time, starting in 1979, floating factories were banned, and literally they would have these factories that floated, and they would process the whale. Really wanted. In 2019, Japan, I'm sorry, 2019, Japan left the IWC and resumed limited commercial whaling. Did not make people very happy. Okay, I am going to tell you about the disaster of 1871. Basically, oh wait, that's more than 1,200 people were on the whaling ships, and they were off the shore of Alaska. There were 30, we had 32 ships, whaling ships. And they were in different places. They were in Hawaii, New England, and California. Men, women, and children might be on these ships. So in the Arctic, the pack ice can be really close to shore. They were doing good. Whaling was great. But this pack ice, it's nature, and things don't always go according to plan. The captains of 32 ships met and decided that the safest thing to do would be to abandon ship. None of the boats were able to go into open water. And so 1,219 people loaded into the whale boats and rowed 90 miles south, where they were rescued by another fleet of whale boats. Not a single life was lost. However, only one of the ships was able to be retrieved. The remaining 31 were crushed by ice. It was estimated that at the time, so that was a loss of about $1.6 million at that time. So quite a bit of money. During the War of 1812, the industry came to a stop. Ships were damaged or destroyed because of the conflict. Men were forced into service. You might have men that were American that were forced to fight for the British. And that really did happen. They would lose people or ships. So they had one called the, I don't know what that was. They had one called the Catherwood. What the heck? Sorry, it made me jump too. I had no idea what it was. So the crew, the ship got washed. They got it. They actually struck the island. They got it back out to sea. And it could not be repaired. They retreated to an island, and the men survived there for 5 days, eating what they could, mostly crabs. They were unable to salvage food or fresh water from the ship. except for one thing of bread. They were actually rescued by another ship. Uh-oh. On the ship, on that ship, they had 500 barrels of sperm whale, as well as whale bones, which were not actually bones, but the baleen. So that ship, the crew ended up being. Can you still not hear me? Is it still bad? Now? What about now? Is it still bad? Darn it. So that's better? Okay. I'm going to retell that story. So basically the whaling ship struck an island. They tried getting it back out to sea, and it was no good. They lost the ship. All of the men were able to get out and made it to the islands, or to the island. They lost 500 barrels of sperm oil, as well as the baleen from the other whales that they had killed. They were rescued with no loss of life. But that was a complete and utter waste of time. Darn it. Sorry about that. So anyway, that's a little bit about whaling from a slightly different angle. It was not glamorous. It wasn't fun. People died. Whales, bunches of whales died. Hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of whales died. They are still fighting a comeback. No. It was a video that popped up on the website that I was using. I thought I X'd out of it and it popped back up. I apologize. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Yeah. This is a, oops. This is a list of, it's a database. That I wanted to just take a peek at because I didn't know that such a thing existed. Day 22. It is August 1848, no whales to be found. Day 31, no whales. It's now September, no whales. They finally, on the 20th of October, came across one right whale. In November, they had one right whale. So most of what they're catching are right whales. And it looks like they're getting about one a day. But that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 whales in a month, 2 months. It's kind of crazy. If you're interested, I can put this as a link and you can check it out. If not, I won't. It's basically boring. Okay. It's basically just a database. It has the voyage ID, latitude, longitude, the day, the month, the year, encounters, and species, and the number of whales that they saw. So, I will post that for you. Hopefully it works. And like I said, there were women who went out and did this. And you can check those out. Do you guys have questions about whaling? Well, I don't know if the ladies were doing the actual work or if they were just there with their husbands. So let's find out. So, yes, there were women who, disguised themselves as men and went fishing. There was a woman who became the first woman in her community to harpoon a whale. But yeah, women disguised themselves as men and were right there in the thick of it. So, they might have been manning the fires. They might have been out there. There aren't real good records out there on the subject, unfortunately. We know that they were there. Women learn to navigate. If the wife of the captain, if it was going to be a long voyage, sometimes she would join them on ship. They cooked, washed clothes, sewed, and read. So yeah, women were there, making their presence known. Somewhere. No. Chat got disconnected on my Chromebook. I don't know if it did on my phone or not. um, Another reason we don't have a lot of records of women being involved is they didn't want people to know that they were women. It's a little bit like um Mulan, but not quite. Wow, lots of them. Very cool. Now, what I don't know. So, Thomas Nickerson was 14 years old, served as a cabin boy on the whale ship Essex. The ship was sunk by a whale and the crew spent 3 months at sea before they were rescued. And he was a real person. They were actually rammed by a whale, and the ship sank. They were able to get on boats. This guy was able to eventually captain his own ship. So yeah, there were even teenagers on ships. There was a 6-year-old girl. She was with her father, mother, daughter, and crew. So, yeah. Anything else? Anything else? Any other questions that I can look up? There. I don't. Um. The Charles W. Morgan, the last surviving whaling ship in the United States, is said to be haunted by ghosts. The ship is located in Mystic, Connecticut. Visitors have reported seeing a man in 19th century clothing in the blubber room. And that seems to be quite the that seems to be quite the ship. Um this opens in 1761 with the Octavius docked in the port of London to take on cargo destined for China. They arrived safely in China and were headed back to sea destined for British shores. But as the weather was unusually warm, the captain decided to sail home via the Northwest Passage. Northwest Passage would take you up north. So they did, and this was the last that anyone heard of the vessel, her crew, or her cargo. She was declared lost. On October 11th, 1775, the whaling ship Herald was working the frigid waters off Greenland when it spotted a sailing ship. The captain of the Herald ordered a boarding party to search the vessel, which they had determined was the Octavius. The boarding party arrived on deck to find it deserted. They broke open the ship's hatch and scrambled down the ladder into the semi-darkness below when a terrifying sight met the eye. They found the crew, and they found the captain. Supposedly, the crew, the captain, his wife, and their son were frozen. They had froze to death. No, I don't know. I don't know if that's an actual story or if that really happened, but to me, it seems like it could be true. I don't know. The ship was found up by Greenland. Um, so yeah. Yep, that would basically be that would be truth. So anyway, I hope so. I haven't even looked at it. It does it did defer. The further east you went, the further the worse it got. So the problem is it's supposed to go into Thursday. So my thing says 1 to 3 inches. Yeah. Yeah, we could. It said Gary had like 8 to 9, I think, by Thursday. We're not talking Wednesday. So did that make it different than earlier? By the way, just FYI, I need to I don't know why. We're at 1,012 subscribers. I need to get your thing done. So we had 1.9 thousand returning viewers, 12.1 thousand unique viewers, and we got 50 plus subscribers in the last 28 days. .9% of viewers watched on phones, 15.6 on TVs, 13.3 on tablets, on computers, and 10.1% on tablets. Um, 69.1% of watch time comes from subscribers. No, I'm sorry, comes from people that are not subscribed, and 30.9% come from subscribers. 47.1% of viewers are female, and 52.9% are males. Age-wise, 5.7% of my viewers or my subscribers are 18 to 24 years old. 25 to 34 is 45.9. 35 to 44 is 38.7. And 45 to 54 are 8.7. 55 to 64 is 0.7, and 65 years and over is 0.3. People are watching. People are watching in English, Portuguese, Japanese, Korean, Greek, Spanish, Indonesian, Italian, English, and Hindi, which is Indian. I don't know. As honest, I'm assuming it's as good as people are honest. I'm going to, well, that's already public. We had 141 views on the whaling from earlier today. I'm not, it auto translates, which is pretty cool. So, yeah. I need to go so that I can get creative. So I will see you guys a little bit later. Probably Friday or Thursday. Have a good one, and I will talk to you guys later. Be good. Oh, my hair. Be kind. I will see you guys later. Peace out, everybody.